So the first one I'm going to go into, and for those of you who are following me and watching this afterwards, I am going to bring up a whiteboard, and I'm hoping that everyone will be able to see this. But obviously, for some of you, you can't see this because you are listening on Clubhouse. So what I'm doing is I'm just literally opening, and I call this my 3-page hack. Okay, so what is a 3-page hack? So when you have got your area, somebody has put in here, I can't see all of these, you know, let's say stains. So Ravi, well, let's say, I don't know, let's say Bedford. Okay, so we've got here, you've decided on Bedford. I have no idea, guys. I haven't done my due diligence on Bedford, so I don't know if it works or not. But let's say we're looking at Bedford, and you're now at that stage where you're like, woo, Bedford's the one for me. That's where I'm going. Or Leon wants to do Brighton. So again, I think Brighton is quite big. And also, guys, another part which is huge in my goldmine area is, excuse me, you have to check that it's not oversaturated. Okay, so that is absolutely huge, and that's utilizing booking.com. Oh, Omar's using Watford. Oh, look at this, we've got so many places. Thank you, guys, I appreciate it. But right, so you're ready, you've done the goldmine area, you know it's not oversaturated, and we're ready to go. And you're terrified because you've now got to go and find these rent-to-rent deals, haven't you? And you know, you've you've done your training, but you're like, what am I going to do? I don't know what to say. Do I tell them that I'm doing rent to rent? Do I not? Do I try and, you know, skirt around the question like a politician? What do I do? What I would highly recommend you do is always tell the truth. Okay, so if somebody says to you, oh, is that rent to rent scheme thing? You know, go, yeah, absolutely. It's really fantastic, isn't it? So always just think, you know, whatever they say, you know, let's just tell the truth, because otherwise, like me, I got into terrible trouble. The first one I went to see, she said, who's this for? And I said, for me, because it kind of is, isn't it? And then anyway, she was then not very well. She rocked up to the viewing. I started talking about rent to rent. She actually really was quite verbally rude. And it was just the most awful experience. She did apologize to me afterwards, but basically she'd got out of bed thinking that it may be a potential, but the vendor or you know, the person who wanted to let it would not do rent to rent. So, you know, she was pretty cross with me. So anyway, so these 3 pages, what do we do? So the first one, if you imagine just a plain sheet of paper with a line dividing straight from top to bottom, and then a line sort of near the top from left to right. And in the top left quadrant, you're going to put landlord problems. Okay. And then obviously underneath that, you're going to list absolutely all of those landlord problems. So I'm just going to put this in here and see if it works. So landlord problems. Okay, and then obviously underneath, you're just going to put a whole host of things. I mean, we can all think of it. No payments. It might be trashed property. It might be, you know, I mean, it can be absolutely everything. Sorry, my mind's going blank. So I'm aware some of you can't see this. And then on the other top right-hand side, you're going to put how I can solve them. So how I can solve those landlord problems. So they are going to be, you know, you're a business basically, so there's going to be no squatting, is there? If you don't pay the bills, you're going to be out on your ear. You're going to keep it in show home condition. So these are really important things for you just to work through a big long list. I'm not live on YouTube. I'm live on Facebook. On Emma Howitt's Pure Abodes. I'm not going to try and share it because I have no idea how to do that. So Yeah, so how I can solve them. So this is a great exercise for everyone to do. We should all be doing this anyway. So what are the landlord problems? So just, if you can't even think of any, just Google it. I mean, there are so many landlord problems. If you've got people that are landlords, ask them, what are the problems that you've had, and just list them. And then how can I solve them? So again, really think through, what are all the things that you can help a landlord? You know, no hassles. You can do everything for them, and they get a guaranteed rent, all of these kind of things. So that's page number 1. Then you'll move on to page number 2. So again, I'm just here going to here we go. So I'm just showing here. So this is our second page, and it's exactly the same. You're going to have a line down the middle, a line across the top, and then we're going to have in the top left-hand corner, letting agent problems. Okay. And that, to be honest, let's be fair, a letting agent's problems could be landlords, couldn't it? But pretty much all similar things. So, you know, trashed properties, you know, issues with tenants, you know, it's just so many things that can go wrong. And then again, on the top right, you are going to put how I can solve them. And again, pretty much similar things. Now, the only thing you want to be really careful with letting agents is nowadays they do put quite a bit of an additional amount of money on any repairs. So if they're going to do a repair for the landlord, they will add on their own charge. Whereas one of the things that I offer to landlords is I'll say, you know, anything up to £100, I will just cover it. Whereas that's not a good thing to say to a letting agent who will be looking after that property and renting it to you, because that's where they make some extra money. So you don't want to be saying that to the letting agent. Okay, and then the third sheet, and I pre-prepared this one, is literally a sheet. So you imagine, guys, I've literally got an A4 sheet of paper and I've got 10 circles on it. Okay, so 10 circles. So you've got sheet 1 with landlord problems, how I can solve them. Sheet 2 with letting agent problems, how I can solve them. And sheet 3 has got 10 circles on them, and in each circle I want you to write a big NO, okay, and put that in every single circle. Okay, now why do we do that? I don't know if anyone's read Go for No. If you haven't, go and read it. And it's basically that, guess what, guys? You are going to get a whole load of no's. Okay, it's just normal. You've got to expect it. You've got to be excited by it, because initially you're going to be quite rubbish, probably. You're going to be saying the wrong things. You might be really nervous about it. Like me, I got shouted at in my first visit, you know, viewing. I just did everything wrong, and I got a lot of no's. Now, this is just such an amazing thing. So every time you get a no, you just cross it off. I want you to do a little no dance. Oh yeah, I got a no. And that's because, guess what? You're one step nearer to a yes. I know that sounds silly, but it's so good. It is all about this mental agility, isn't it? It's basically persuading ourselves that we can help ourselves and that we are going to get there. Are there hundreds, maybe, yeah, I mean, there'll be thousands of people out in the UK who do rent to rent. Yeah, exactly, Dee. Who do rent to rent, okay? So why can't you? There's no reason whatsoever that you can't, you know, and there's no excuses. You could be too tall, you could be too short, you could have a really strong accent, you could be too thin, too fat. There's no excuses, guys. Every single person with, and I'm talking about not going it alone, those of you that have done your learning, that are in a support group, that have done your goldmine area, that have done those first 2 sheets, you are going to get a lot of no's, but you still keep going on here. Just keep going. Okay, so going back to those other two sheets, what the main thing that I really like about these is inherently have them to hand before you have any conversations with any landlords or any letting agents, because really what we're looking for is problems. Because if there are no problems, so let's say, for instance, we speak to a landlord and you rock up, or you find him on spare room and you've given him a call, or her, and you said, hi, you know, how is your property? How's it going? And they say, oh, it's absolutely brilliant. I've always had really great tenants, no problem. I keep it in really great condition because I'm always updating it. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. Guess what? It's highly unlikely that my friend Harry took 57 calls before he got his right. There we go, Craig. Absolutely. Absolutely. You can get so many no's before you get a yes, but you've just got to know. So it's a bit like Think and Grow Rich. If you haven't read it, read it. It talks about faith. Okay. Loads and loads of other people have done this. So just have the faith that you will get there. You will get there. But yeah, so what you're looking for are these problems. So as I say, if they don't have any problems, it's highly unlikely that you can help them, because inherently what people need is for us to solve their problems. Okay, so so go in, and so when you're talking to them, if they suddenly say, if you say, oh, this is a beautiful property, let's say you meet them at the place, at their property, and even if it's a rubbish property, never say, oh my goodness, this is the worst property I've ever seen. I can't bear it. I want to leave now. You know, just try and just, you know, really build rapport, even if you have to say, wow, what a, you know, a great view of the car park. So nice to be able to see the supermarket, isn't it? Whatever, don't take the mickey, but, you know, try and think of things that will really build that rapport and start talking about, because that particular property with the landlord might be their rubbish, worst property. They might have loads of other amazing properties, or they might have friends that have got properties. So always make sure that you're working on building a fantastic rapport. Sorry, just another drink. So yeah, so you say to them, oh, how you know, so a good one is, you know, who was the last tenant? I mean, if they say nothing negative about that, then you might want to ask more probing questions, obviously open-ended questions. You know, how did you find it through COVID? That was a bit challenging, wasn't it? And if they say, oh yeah, I had a nightmare, had some people that really took advantage of the system, they didn't pay, and then they kept paying at the last minute, obviously couldn't get them out, then tried to take them to court with, you know, what, for whatever reason, we've only just got them out, and then they've really trashed the place. So that's why we're just in the process of doing it up. Ka-ching. I mean, that is what you want to hear. You want to help them, yeah? You want to help them find the solution to this. But what we often do is we just sort of blindly have a conversation and kind of hope that something comes up, but we need to actively search for these problems. So if you've got a big long list of landlord problems or letting agent problems, then you can keep asking these open-ended questions. Now, as I say, if there are no problems, it's probably a no. If there are lots of problems, then that's when you can start talking to them about how you can help them solve that, how you can be the answer to their what has inherently been a nightmare before, and you can really sort of, you know, push that on its way to help them. So that's my 3 pages hack. I think that's a really fantastic one to give you some basis of what to go for. Now,